Well, welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG, everyone. This might not be the video for you. I just want to warn you right now, we're going to have a hot take today. It's probably going to be wrong, and sometimes here on this channel, we like to shoot for the moon and hope that we get there and hope that we get something right. We're going to throw some stuff at a wall. We're going to hope it sticks. If that's not the type of video that you're in for, you might as well click the thumbs down button and get the heck out of here, because we're going to talk about some stuff. Hot takes 101. Let's go. Nope, we're going to go over here. Okay, sorry. Here we go. We're going to talk. I want to be right about this. Not only do I want to be right about Tales of Aria, whatever it is, Tales of Aria, I want to guess, and I want to be like, I just want to be really right. I don't know. Like I want to guess on this. And so here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk a little bit about this. I want to be right, and I also want PvE. Okay, so we're going to, don't go away. We're going to see what we can come up with by scouring the websites and scouring the data in this world to see will we get PvE in Tales of Aria. Let's talk about what PvE is. From talking to a lot of people, I found that the card game that has done this best is actually the World of Warcraft trading card game. They had these things called raid decks. They had 8 raid decks, which it lasted. Looks like it lasted like 8 years, which is pretty good. And these raid decks had all sorts of things in them. Here's some pictures. It looks like this is the Steam version, but they had big huge bosses that had hit points and whatever, and they did attacks, and then they had events and like an event deck, and it seems like it was a pretty well received and kind of polished thing. There's other let's see what else we got here. Here's some other pictures of it. It seems, like you've got the betrayer here, and he's a boss hero. Or you've got the high warlord, Najintus. What's up with these card games and like making up words and then making people pronounce them? But then they do things. Apparently, when you zoom in, it zooms out. They do things, and there's an event deck, and it's cool. Minion deck, right? So you have your minions, and you're fighting your minions while you're also fighting the big things. And so I want to talk a little bit about this. I think that Aria is really set up for PvE. Let's talk about Aria a little bit. Let's go to Aria. Let's go heroes. Let's go World of Wraith. Let's talk about Aria. We're gonna do a little deep dive into Aria in a couple days. But you've got all these like folklores, right? These folk tales across Aria that are kind of set up really perfectly like for these kind of encounters, or like if you think of like Dungeons and Dragons, if you think like almost like an encounter in Dungeons and Dragons, like the Otherworld legend states that the oldest tree in every forest has a door hidden beneath its roots leading to another realm. Those who enter it are often lost to the passage of time, emerging years later. And so you've got these kind of ideas of like these just different things like that tell a story. Like there's so much story in Aria, and like with it being called Tales of Aria, it just like that they're going to tell a story. And so I think that's really cool. But then you've got like it goes deeper, like it goes so much deeper. You've got these legends or whatever, the guardians, but then you've got these like they literally have creatures set up. Like they already have on here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures that could just be 5 raid bosses. Like they could be these 5 things right here. Like they could be these 5 heroes, these raid bosses right here. We got them right now. They're already on the website. They're already here telling for us, we can't pronounce them. So like, we know that they got to be legit. Vitra Eo, a majestic creature with a thick mane crowned with a series of large crystals that grow off the top of his skull, in addition to a dense coat, grows, large tusks on either side. Like it's like perfect. Like it could be here. Like you could see yourself fighting them. Where's the one? There was one that like, that had a large beast with crystalline hide, skin harder than most forms of metal. So like, how are you supposed to defeat that? So you get what I'm saying? Like they've added all these details, and there's so many things that what's the point of going through and creating these 5, creatures if they're not going to be there for something? All right, don't go away. So then I got to thinking, like, in the podcast this past week, we talked about, how great it would be with an IP to like do an IP crossover, and how PvE could be the perfect opportunity for that. And I couldn't remember. And I said Diablo in the podcast. I said that Flesh and Blood, they have friendships with Diablo, and I was wrong. It's not. It's Path to Exile. And so let's check this out. All right, just stick with me. Just stick with me. I'm gonna get to the hot take. Okay, this is the hot take. You're 5 minutes in. You're 6 minutes in. I'll get to the hot take. I think we're going to see a Path to Exile, a Flesh and Blood crossover that's going to utilize. So let's watch. Grinding Gear Games is located where? Where is it located? Huh? Where? In Auckland, New Zealand. What do we know? Okay, just stay with me. What do we know about Flesh and Blood? They are extremely proud of New Zealand, right? Like they are like, Legend Story Studios is a small company that's extremely honored and proud to represent their nation and be a global game. Like it's a global game. It's all over the place. Like I'm in West Virginia right now talking about a game that was created in New Zealand. So you know what? Like if they're gonna be with someone, if they're gonna get together and work together, it's gonna be someone from New Zealand. It's gonna be someone that that shares their same DNA. So, what does Path to Exile provide? Well, Path to Exile provides a great RPG network. I'm not saying that Flesh and Blood's ever going to be a video game. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you take some of the intricacies of a game like Path to Exile. You take some of the, let's see, when I searched it, 144,000 reviews, Path to Exile on Steam. 164,000 reviews. Huge following. Like an absolutely, in the video game world, not like a absolutely immense following, but 170,000 is like the perfect number. It's got enough, like, PC Game of the Year 2013. It's got enough, it's just got enough, right? And then you take some of the storytelling, you take some of the world development, you take some of that, and you take that and you put a card game that has just this dense knowledge behind it, this dense organization, this dense, real great intricacies and really great mechanics, and you take these two things that are very similar, right? Like they're both swords and axes and equipment and gear and loot and fighting things and blood and everything, and you take these two things and they're both from New Zealand. Now wait for it, they also both, where's Path to Exile, have announcements and releases coming out around the same time. Okay, like come on, just I know the chances of this are minimal, but Expedition, which apparently is like the new set, I'm guessing. I didn't watch this. I should have watched it. I know. I got excited. You'll join an expedition of excavating their lost relics and undead. So it's like an expansion, right? It's an expansion coming out. So they've got a bunch of hype, a bunch of attention on their game. And then meanwhile, so this is, what day did they say it was? The 23rd? Meanwhile, they announce on the 23rd. And then what happens? 4 days later, Tales of Aria gets announced. I don't know, everyone. I don't know. I'm just shooting for the moon. I'm throwing stuff at a wall. I'm throwing some spaghetti at the wall. We'll see what sticks. I think that this could be cool. Now, here's the thing. Now, the question is why? The question is why work together, okay? Why connect two games? What do you get from that? Well, I think one of the things, like the World of Warcraft game, right? Like, it's so locked into its own world that it almost becomes a negative. Like it's so locked into its own world that it feels like almost like it just feels like it was like maybe like a side thing, right? Whereas if you bring in a whole nother world, if you bring in a lot of like of the depth of a whole nother creation, I think it can provide this like, hey, this was an intentional secondary project. And it's an intricate detail thing, but I think the biggest thing that you bring with it is this huge number of players. You bring a huge following. This is exactly what Magic the Gathering is doing with all their kind of IP crossovers and secret layers and whatever. And I think that this could be done in a really, really delicate way. There was another game that was made by it was like a board game, and it was made by I'm just like off script here, but it was another game. It was a board game. Oh, it was the Bloodborne game, right? The Bloodborne card game. That was so this was it was made by, who was it made by? Cool Mini or Not, right? So it was a video game, and that was a board game that was made by a company that had like a very good reputation in the board game world, right? Like they make really good minis. I don't know how great, the games aren't super great, but they make really good minis. And the point being that like it brought it into a different world that it wasn't before. And so like I think there's some really cool things that a kind of a collaboration. I don't want to use an IP crossover because that seems non-permanent, but like a collaboration. In other words, Path to Exile has this depth and like just history and whatever, and then Flesh and Blood has this really great card game. I think you can mix those worlds a little bit. Obviously this would end up being in Aria, right? But you could mix these, like, I don't know enough about Path to Exile, but you could mix these kind of like attitudes and worlds together to become this, like, I don't know, like even like in this expedition thing, right? Like how does it read? Like they just they go on an expedition to Calgary, to do Lost Rock. Like you could go on an expedition to, like, all it is, right? Like the easiest way to cross over is just to say like these two characters ended up in the same world, and you just cross over the worlds. Because like look at Tales, if you're still here, like, right? Like I know I'm reaching. If you look at Tales, right, it's like all of a sudden they're just like go through this tree, it's a hidden door, and they enter into another realm. It's just another realm. It's like a completely another realm. Like you can do it. It's right there. Anyway, I don't know. I just think there's something here. There's something to the whole New Zealand thing. I'm reaching. I know I'm reaching. I know I'm reaching, but it's got to be there somewhere. There's got to be something. Welcome to my brain. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope we see some sort of PvE. I don't know if it will actually be a crossover or not, but I do really believe we will see some PvE. I really do believe we will see some sort of raid deck type thing where you're working together. I would prefer to be like 1 versus 4, where like somebody's controlling the boss deck rather than be automated, but we'll see. I really think it's coming. Like the only thing that doesn't have going for it is like the spoiler for Aria said it's just like a standalone booster pack. It didn't really talk about any but dude, I think the 27th, it's in 10 days. I can't wait. I hope you're hyped. Hope you have a great day. Remember to be kind to the people around you. And if you're still here, thanks for bearing with me on my little dream here. I think it'd be cool. And again, I just want people, I just want all these people that play Path to Exile to know about Flesh and Blood, because I think they would love it. So hope you have a great day. Remember to be kind to people around you.